Welcome back to the Off the Record DJ podcast, special one today, guys. In the building, one of the best DJs of all time, not in my opinion, but by the DJ industry opinion. We have got one of the first educators and an all-round top DJ, DJ Angelo, in the building. How are you, bro?
Wow, I'm good, man. I'm even better after that introduction.
I said to you, it's weird how things work out, because I remember maybe 15 years ago downloading the Scratch course, which was yours, learning to scratch. Not as nowhere near as well as you, but getting somewhere. And back then, there wasn't, we say this all the time, there wasn't much DJ education around then. And you were one of the first ones to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you could say I was one of the first DJ YouTubers.
Yeah.
It was at a time where YouTubing wasn't a career. And there were very few actual guys making DJ content. So this was probably around 2008. And there was a guy called Eliskins. You may remember him. He was like the original guy on YouTube doing DJ content. And then I met him and I basically pitched to him that I'm a scratch guy and I'd like to make videos in association with you. And yeah, and this was back when YouTube was a completely different time. There was a 10-minute limit.
Yeah,
forgot
about that.
There was no HD. It was crazy. So I had time on my hands. I was out of work at the time, and I had teaching experience. So I just put my time to good use.
But when I found you on YouTube, you were already an unbelievable DJ. So how did that come about? When was your first entry into what a DJ is, and then how did you know that you could become one and it be successful? Because you were born in London, raised in London.
I grew up in England, starting out in Brixton, and then I spent most of my life in the Midlands, around Derby, Nottingham, Leicester. But yeah, I was born in Burma originally, came over as a 8-month-old child, and humble beginning, but music was the common thread throughout my life. My parents would play vinyl at home, and I would say that DJing was very organic for me. I wasn't really inspired by anyone in particular. I wasn't trying to be the superstar. It was just a natural progression of me loving music and wanting to interact with it, have a closer relationship with it. And when I understood how vinyl worked and how, playing the record and being able to change how it sounds with my hands, something was ignited inside me, and I felt this inspiration to just be more hands-on and manipulate music to the way I wanted it to sound. So it was a real empowering moment when I realized that could be done with music. And buying vinyl and tapes and CDs, I discovered DJ mixes, and then I went about on a bit of a crusade trying to understand how these mixes were made, because before then I would buy that's what I call music compilations, and it would just be lots and lots of tracks, but they weren't mixed together. And then when I bought these mixtapes, there was no gaps between songs, and I couldn't understand how that was happening. So I just went about trying to find answers. There was no YouTube, there was no real DJ schools in my area, and eventually I bought this VHS tape from DMC called So You Want to Be a DJ? And I basically learned what it was all about then. And then I also discovered the DMC championships around that same time, which is a very
iconic,
high-level form of DJing and turntablism. So yeah, it all came very organically and naturally. I learned how to beat match within a day, and then I just
which doesn't sound impressive now because of the tools, but that wasn't easy. But learning to beat match on vinyl, very different.
Yeah,
to how it is now.
I understand that it's difficult for some people, but for some reason I always had really good rhythm. And when I realized that the songs themselves had intro and outro beats, and it was just a case of overlapping them at the right tempo, in some ways I felt like the magic had disappeared. I thought there was a lot more going on when it came to DJing. I thought it was synthesizers or drum machines or some way of stitching songs together. But once I realized, okay, it's about tempo and BPM and overlapping them at the right time, I then wanted to keep leveling up my skills, and that's how I discovered scratching and turntablism.
So where was the transition then from you're going out, you're seeing the DMC, and you're thinking, oh, actually this could be a thing for me? How long did it take to sort of get to the level of, actually I want to be a working DJ and I can make a career? When was the connection of, actually this could be a career? Was you at college, high school? Was it a bit later on?
I'd graduated uni already, and I'd been DJing by that point for about 4 years, and I played at university and on the campus and around some of the local clubs. But yeah, I never really aspired to do it full time until I got a full-time job after uni, which I ended up hating, quitting it without any kind of backup. And I decided at that point, I don't want to work for anyone again or get into a position like this again. So I put everything into DJing and just decided to give this a go in the hopes that it might work. And if it didn't, at least I tried. So it was around 2005 that I went around my local city handing out mixtapes, and that eventually led to a residency.
Right.
And then, as you know, people hear about you, you end up picking up more gigs. And at the same time as that, I was supplementing my income as a DJ by doing DJ workshops.
Ah, right, okay.
So I have a long history in DJ education as well, which helps with the tutorials on YouTube and the courses I've done. So I'm a bit of an all-rounder. I've done everything really with DJing.
Yeah. So when you were getting the residencies, was it because times have changed a little bit, and getting like 7 nights a week in like your local area, especially in the UK, it become more and more tough, and people had to be agile. But back then there were quite a lot of gigs going around. So was you like hardcore working like sort of 5, 6, 7 nights a week and doing the workshops like on the side as well?
Pretty much, yeah. I would take on anything I was offered back then. So I had Friday residencies, Saturday residencies, and I was open to bookings. And I was hungry. I was really, really hungry as a young DJ, and I would take gigs even if the money wasn't great, just to get my foot in the door. So yeah, all around the UK, and I was doing a lot of projects for the Arts Council and government-funded community projects. So I became quite in demand as a DJ tutor around the UK, and I would set up in prisons and schools.
Really? That's interesting.
Youth clubs. So I was living and breathing DJing for many, many years, and I was kind of trying to build my name as someone who could tour internationally, and that took time, but it was actually YouTube.
I was going to say, was that YouTube that was like, this is the moment?
Yeah. And you guys know content is king when it comes to getting your eyes on you internationally, because I always say to DJs, it's great to play locally, but that's one room of people that experience it, and they probably forget about you the next day or the next week, whereas with content it lives on and it keeps working for you long after you've made it.
You get into a bubble, don't you, if you're doing your sort of local area and doing a gig, seeing the same people and people patting you on the back saying, yeah, great, but then when you start putting your content to the world has not a different opinion on it, but then also there's a whole new audience out there that want to see. So when you started on sort of YouTube making content, was it performance and education, or did you start with the education stuff?
It was education mostly at the start, because I wasn't really getting too many gigs that I thought were interesting enough to film. So I knew how to scratch by then, and I felt that people weren't teaching it in a way that I thought was digestible for anyone, and I felt I have a responsibility. If I know how to teach this stuff. I'd been doing it with school kids and all around the UK in projects. So I decided to just fill that space, and and the DJ community really got behind it, and YouTube themselves featured me on their homepage one day, which was crazy.
Wow.
And my subscribers started flying up.
So what happens from then is it, do people start reaching out to you? At what point did you take on a manager or anything like that? Did you start to go away from your sort of local residency and start taking bigger and bigger gigs?
So I've been pretty much independent my whole career.
Nice.
And I think the first international opportunity came along when someone in Morocco reached out through YouTube, because back then you had DMs in YouTube. So I picked up quite a few bookings through YouTube DMs, and they offered me a gig in Marrakesh.
Nice.
And they said it's unpaid, but we'll cover your flights, hotel for you and a friend for a week, and food and everything. And I thought, man,
when the first time that comes in, you're like,
I better just take this. I'm kind of a nobody at this point. But I knew that if I do this well, I'm guaranteed a big crowd because it was a festival. And I thought if I film this, then at least I have some kind of show reel of sorts to leverage other things. And that's exactly what I did. I got my friend who came with me to film it. It's on my channel.
Still there.
And then I used that highlights reel to then get more. And I ended up with a gig in South Korea.
Nice.
So it's been a case of leveraging and being resourceful.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. Like when you sort of blindly go into it, don't you? When you're making content and trying to get opportunities outside, it only takes one thing to just fit in your brain of like, oh my god, this can happen. Like this is actually a thing where if I make content and I put myself out there, people do watch, because I think it stops a lot of people of, you know, how much content do I need to put out, or what kind of content should I put out? But it's just like getting started. But how much was you like practicing back in the day? Because like I say, you're at such a high level of turntablism. Was it a case of you were just watching other peers do a similar thing and you wanted to emulate it? Like what made you want to be sort of a creative DJ in that way?
It was when I bought the 1995 DMC World Championship VHS.
Yeah.
The first one I ever saw in full, and I bought that tape thinking it was just a DJ competition for mixing. I didn't know it was scratching, and then I put it on, and then I saw Qbert, Mixmaster Mike at the beginning doing some crazy stuff, and that's when I realized I'm not using these turntables to the fullest here, and I want to do something more like that. So from that point on, I just started to try and build up my skills, and I kind of had two styles that influenced me. I was an electronic DJ to begin with. In the 90s, like trance was big in the UK, house music was big, but then I discovered the DMC, so I was like in between like the hip hop and electronic, and I think that still influences the way I DJ now. I like smooth mixes, but I also like technical skills. So I got hooked on the DMCs and just got inspiration to try and get my skills to try and and get to that level, because that's the highest level of DJing in my opinion. And
big time.
Yeah, you can spend a lifetime trying to.
Did you enter some of the earlier competitions? How did you found that? Because it's such a strong community, isn't it? Like the turntablist world, and especially like back then. But when did you first enter and start going into competitions? And I'm guessing that you entered to try and obviously leverage winning or finishing high up to obviously support your brand as a DJ, right?
Yeah, I think the first I actually entered one while I was at university, because Vestax back then had a student DJ competition,
right?
Which is wild. And then the first prize would give you a slot in Ministry of Sound.
Nice.
I didn't get to the final that time, but I got a taste for the battles. And then before DMC there was an event in London called Plaza.
Right.
It was kind of like the NAMM show of the UK back then, and I went down with no expectations, and I practiced the day before, and I went down and I ended up winning that one. And then so I started to get a bit of belief in my abilities, and then tried DMC once or twice back in the day, and I realized that after that battling isn't really my lane. But the side effect of training for a battle, gives you so many skills, because you have a goal that you're focused on, and it's hard to simulate that kind of pressure on yourself to get better without a goal. So I always encourage any DJs to try and enter competitions. Even if you don't win, you come out with something, and that stays with you.
100%. And this is a time where technology, it was just two vinyls and a 2-channel mixer. There's no hot cues or sample banks or anything like that. So I think it's even more creative to create something amazing out of that, because technology, even though it allows creativity as well, I feel like everyone can do a similar thing. Do you know what I mean? So to be able to do it with just 2 decks and a mixer is something special, because anything can go wrong at any time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's high stakes when you're relying on needles not to skip, and like you said, it's analog, so. You have to really be resourceful. You can't just jump to a certain point in a song at any time. You have to really plan out the changing of vinyl. But On the flip side, I hear a lot from the vinyl purist guys that think DJing digitally is easy and it's like diluting the art form and it's cheating and it's taking shortcuts. And yeah, it may be the case for some aspects, but I think it takes a whole nother level of creativity to be good on digital. And there's things that you can't do on vinyl. Vinyl's great, but it's limited.
Totally.
There's so many limitations, and I became more creative than what vinyl could allow me to do. Yeah. So I had to go to digital. And I think the purists need to understand that there's some people want to evolve past that point creatively.
And so when was you entering competitions quite regular in between you going out as like a solo DJ act around globally? Was that kind of a long continuation of a number of years?
I didn't enter so many. I learned pretty much after a few battles that this isn't my lane.
Okay.
I'm more of an entertainer.
Right.
I try to make people understand what I'm doing, and I try not to cater for the DJs themselves. Yeah. So,
which is where I guess Red Bull Freestyle kind of brought that in a little bit, where it's more about performance for the audience, whereas DMC is super technical and it is like DJs are watching DJs, and whereas like Red Bull Freestyle had that little in between. I remember watching like SK83 and I was like enjoying watching it because I could imagine doing this in a club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And Red Bull filled a huge gap for what DJing is really supposed to be about, which is entertaining the audience. That's our role. And DMC, I got
incredible.
So much love for DMC, and they're still running strong. It's 40 years this year actually, and they really pushed the craft to such a high level. But I think it's fair to say that culture became a little more insular, a little more
Where
nerdy.
Where do you think it is at now? Because I think since before COVID happened, Red Bull Freestyle was really, really hitting the heights. You had A-Tracks like Goldie Awards, which is like multi. You had producers making beats, and that was really good. And it seems to now that culture sort of quiet. That DMC is still going pretty strong, but it seems to really narrow down, and there's not that much focus on it anymore. And I think we see it in education as well. That more and more DJs are starting out with a goal of like being a music artist as a whole, whereas before there was a lane of if you want to be like a turntablist, or there was a sort of lane for you there as well. Whereas I don't know where the culture is now. Where do you see it?
Oh man, that's a long, deep question.
We've got time.
There's so many things happening in culture that affects what DJs can and
totally.
are doing. I would say that going back to what I was saying about the DMC, it became more of a insular kind of community where it was mostly DJs and turntablists who would support it. You would be performing and it would be DJs in the audience, judged by DJs, and we kind of lost the crowd, I think, in the turntablist battle scene. DMC are trying to bring that back now with the open battle, which is great.
Nice.
But I think when something gets to such a technical level, you lose regular people.
Yeah. It's hard,
and that's no one's fault because everything gets more advanced, especially DMC being the competition to push the envelope. So I think that happened, but also technology has enabled more people to start DJing, which is great.
Yep.
But it's also perhaps attracted people who aren't necessarily music people.
Okay.
It's people who like technology and are attracted to the clouds or the perks you get from being a DJ. So there's that happening, and then we've got the club scene that's kind of changing and dying in a lot of places. So DJing, the role of a DJ is constantly changing, but I would like to think that there's always going to be a market for everything.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that if you enter competitions, then you should be able to accelerate your career if you become a champion of some kind. But it's always down to the individual to leverage and, take advantage of whatever they achieve and, try to get the next thing, the next step in their career.
I totally agree. I think the DJ now is that the new rock star? And you see all the events in the US of like Coachella and EDC, and all of the DJs are the main headline acts. We did a report last year where I think it was in mainstream festivals, like the EDM dance act has gone up by something like 40% or something, and that's just like not even your dance events. This is like your mainstream sort of festivals. Accessibility is really easy. You can buy a Flex 4 for £250, take a course and learn to DJ, pretty similar. And we talk about it a lot, how the role of a DJ has changed, like you mentioned, and there's so many ways into becoming a DJ. You can do events, you can do the local clubs and do events. You can be an influencer DJ where you're just literally working with brands, posting content, working with brands. You can be a music producer, you can be James Hype if you want to. And hopefully the sort of turntablist creative world doesn't sort of fall by the wayside, because in some ways we never had this much technology, and every time there's a new controller there's something new on it. Like we had the Groove 6, for example. It's got like, it's sort of inspired by like Fred again, right? Because it's got like a drum machine where you can swap out drums live, and it's kind of like, why are we not using this, guys? There's not many like people out there where I'm like, you know, I go on TikTok and somebody's like doing this drum racks and all that kind of thing, and it's sort of like never been more present, and it's hopefully it can still like live on.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think DJing keeps expanding. The realms of what a DJ is
definitely
and can do keeps expanding, and I think even though it came from vinyl and turntables, and we all respect the origins, DJing has always evolved. The technology you use to DJ has always evolved. So I think when people say it's not real DJing unless you use vinyl, I think they're being very short-sighted, because technology has changed everything. You know, the cameras we're using today, the phone you have here, why wouldn't that happen with DJ technology too? And I think it's incredible that everyone can get into DJing a lot more easily now, because I think if you love music, there shouldn't be such a barrier to enjoy this art form.
100%.
You know, it was so expensive for me back in the day.
Oh wow. The records, man.
The records, I could
Vinyl's had a resurgence, though. Like it's up and up every year for the since COVID, like, which is amazing to think.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, I
think it's like something about having a physical object.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get lost in the algorithm of streams serving you music all the time. They're going out and having to decide to part ways with money for something. It feels like a treasure, doesn't it? It's like a piece of art every time you get one.
Totally. Yeah, it's nice to hold something tangible.
Sort of speaking about technology, like every time you would drop like a new routine on YouTube or something, like we would all like tune in and try and dissect what you've done and fail. So you've always been at the forefront of and anytime there's been a new addition, whether it was hot cues or whether the stems came out or whatever it was, you've always showed up on YouTube and sort of created something amazing, and that sort of led on to you working with Algoriddim now, who we've been a fan of since we first heard about DJ, and one of the most innovative sort of companies out there in the DJ industry, and not necessarily like born in the DJ industry, to kind of come from a technology standpoint. But I'd just love to sort of hear your thoughts about when you started with Algoriddim and what your sort of role is within the company.
So I've been involved with them really for probably 12 years.
Right.
I met them, I think, at Music Mess in Frankfurt, which was again another NAMM show like Expo in Europe, and I'd been working a bit with Reloop by then already.
Yeah.
And I discovered their app, which was on iPad at the time, and immediately I thought, this is amazing. Like I can do everything on this one device. So I've always been open to technology from day one, and I pitched to the CEO at the time a video idea. Crazy concept. I don't know where it came from, but I pitched to them, let me make a video with your app where I skydive and I'm DJing on the iPad, strapped to my arm. I was half serious about it, but they approved it and they commissioned me to do it, and I flew to...
I don't think I've seen it. Did this happen?
This was my attempt at making a viral video, which didn't really work. Didn't go viral.
I'm going to watch this as soon as this is finished.
It's on my channel.
Right,
you can find it.
Cool.
And they approved it. I did it. I did 2 skydives to get the footage. Right. I performed in the air. And yeah, it didn't go viral. I risked my life twice.
We might repost it. It might go viral. There's always time. Things blow up years after, don't they?
So to cut a long story short, that was my first foray in working with algorithms, and I did a few projects since then. Just video projects whenever they release something, and then they released. They were working on the DVS edition a few years ago, and I started working very close with them and the engineering team, and I got to know them, and I realized like, yeah, these guys are really on point, and I like the direction they're going in. So we made it more official, and I've been with Algoriddim coming up to 3 years. My role there is very varied. We're not a huge team. We still have a very much startup kind of mentality, so everyone does more than one thing there. So I
know that feels.
Exactly. Yeah. But
it's cool, it's fast, it's exciting, and
it's agile, isn't it? Yeah, we can get things done pretty quickly, and yeah, it's exciting. It's never dull.
We've worked really well with Algoriddim over the years, and I think it's all come from any time we've sort of made a video or some kind of content. It's always done so well, and it's like one of the, if not, I think it's like the most downloaded DJ app, and that's because it's basically on the home store of the App Store like all the time, and you can just download it for free and start playing. Now the trick is to get all of those people to sort of commit. It's a great sort of source to get, oh yeah, what's this? I'll have a mess around. I can mix 2 tunes, and then I think the challenge is to be like, how can we take these people who are obviously interested in this? How do we make them DJs and take it a bit more seriously? What are some of the latest innovations that you've been a part of that you're sort of like really proud of, that have sort of pushed the brand forward? So
I've worked a lot on the DVS release, of course. Yep. We've got the lowest latency, so it's super tight. The crossfader effects is really, really cool. So you can do really tight, complex transitions with just your crossfader. The fluid beat grid, really, really amazing. If you're someone who plays disco or funk or music that isn't electronically produced, you can sync those and almost quantize them to another electronic track. That's really incredible. But yeah, I mean, everything.
I love that you've been DJing for many years. All of the problems that you've had, you've just gone fix them.
Yeah. That's it. That's the beauty of what I'm doing, because I've got like so many years of experience now, coming from analog and performing at a high level. So I know what DJs need, and we're always working, like we're always trying to improve things. We have so much in the pipeline. We get requests all the time, and we take everything on board. And yeah, I mean, I have to keep so many secrets working there. We always have things going on. And
is it really hard? Because obviously you've worked with Apple and Meta. Like there must be like airtight contracts and NDAs like left, right, and center. Like what? Have you been to like the Meta offices and Apple and showcase the products like over many times? Because obviously you've worked with the Vision Pro announcement. Like talk us through like how that even becomes a thing.
Yeah, the great thing about Algoriddim is that we are a tech company,
right?
First and foremost, but we have a heart in DJing because I'm on the team. Our CEO was a hip hop DJ, so we love DJing, and because we're heavy into tech, we're close with like the likes of Apple and Google and Meta, and yeah, I've had the privilege of working with these big corporations, and I literally just did a DJ workshop for Apple a few days ago, the first one they've ever done. So I'm able to be a bit of a go-between from the artists and the tech side of things, the tech companies, and it's a great place to be. I'm really happy, like being a voice for both sides and trying to grow the pie for the DJ community to create more opportunities for everybody. Because I think as much as I love DJ culture and what's happening now, we need to keep evolving. We need to keep expanding opportunities, because there's a lot of DJs out there, and we're all looking for an outlet and ways to elevate our careers. And if there's no growth, then everything just dries up, and We don't get great artists who survive and create and innovate, and the scene doesn't stay healthy. So technology, I believe, will play a big part in how the culture continues to evolve. And that might not be what the purists want to hear, but it's the truth. Technology is changing everything. AI is a bit of a double-edged sword. We all know about that, but it's always down to what you do with the technology. And you can DJ completely analog with no automation. That's still an option for you. You don't have to use the shortcuts and the tools. And we just believe in having all options available. If for whatever way of DJing you want to do, whether you're a beginner or a pro, we're trying to have an answer for everyone.
One thing I want to touch on is we're talking about the features of Algoriddim DJ, and it's one of the only like multi-platform software out there that is good, that is seamless across everything, because it started as an app and sort of evolved, and it's gone so far that it's now in sort of the Vision Pro world, which is a totally other universe. But I remember when we did the video on it when the announcement came, and not strangely, but there's a whole world of like gamers out there who are already in this world, who are like, yeah, this is amazing. Like, and where obviously you got your DJ purists who are like, what is going on? But then there's, again, with technology, a door will open for a totally different area of culture and society, and they're all about like, oh yeah, I can see me doing this. Like where does, I guess, cross device DJing live for Algoriddim, and how do you see it evolving?
So it goes back to our ethos at Algoriddim to make DJing accessible to everyone. So whatever device you have, whether it's your phone, your iPad, your laptop, we want to meet people where they are, so that everyone can tap into this art form. And on top of that, we have our DJ music library in there, the catalog of music that's up to now 8,000 songs, which is completely free for people to use. So you can actually download the app for free, have songs to play for free. So you don't even need to have a subscription for the app or for a music platform to get started.
And these are songs from like decent labels, independent labels. That
we got some heavy hitters on there now, and it's growing every week. So we're trying to just make everyone have access. And if you want to take it further, you can subscribe to the pro version. You can get different platforms for your streaming music, like BeatSource, Apple Music, Beatport, all of that. So
and you can get your crates in there as well from like other software, can't you, as well?
Yeah.
If you've already got your crates in Serato, Recordbox, Virtual DJ, whatever, you can sort of just transfer them over.
And we're very keen on having the same experience on all your devices, so you can expect the same features from your Mac to your iPhone. Right. And I'm going to do a performance with my iPad for you.
So
and
excited.
then because we're big on innovation, as soon as we heard about the spatial technology with the Vision Pro, of course, we had to get on board with that, because we have some of the best software engineers in the world, and I'm not even exaggerating.
DJ Pro was in the advert for it, weren't they? Like the announcement video from Apple. Insane.
Yeah. Now we have a small but a team of all stars, and I get to work closely with the engineers, which is an amazing position to be in. So we launched on the Vision Pro and then on MetaQuest, and it's a whole nother paradigm of how to DJ using just your eyesight and hands in the air in front of you. And of course, it's the first time, it's version 1 of that. So we're excited to see where that may lead, especially with Mark Zuckerberg's plans to make the glasses the size of Ray-Bans with hologram text. So I think, we're in an exciting place to continue exploring that and seeing if that becomes the next platform for how DJs perform.
I think it will be. It's one of them generational things where we've had nothing like it before, so it's very difficult. It must be difficult for you, being turntable purist background, to even think about like putting your name to this new technology where you're going to get loads of people being like, what is going on? Like, but if you think about I just think about like my son who puts on the goggles and plays with it and just grows up with it, and it's not weird.
Yeah.
Like, and the technology, like you say, are going to get down to glasses. There'll probably be contact lenses in 10 years and you won't notice, and then it just becomes normal.
Yeah, like I was saying, like, you know, the tech is different now for people starting DJing. And there was a time when I would discriminate a little bit about, you know, saying that turntable is like, you know, the best, the true format of DJing. But I grew out of that, I would say, because if you really know your history about DJing, technology has always kind of made DJing advance. So before, you know, DJing started before a crossfader was even invented, before pre-queuing was even invented. So all of these things are innovations. So of course it would continue to evolve into digital and into sync and stems and all of that. So I don't discriminate with technology in how it's changing DJing, because the other options are all still there as well. And you can do it however you want. I just think DJs need to be more, less toxic towards each other's choices, I would say. Like if you're a grown adult telling another grown adult how to DJ and what to use, I think that's a problem. You know, do you let other people do them? Because this is an art form for everyone, and again, it's about the audience we play to, and we shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves about what gear to use.
And like you said, with the Vision Pro stuff, if DJing is playing to an audience, so if people are hanging out in the metaverse, then there's an audience there, and you get to play with it in a totally weird way, and it does baffle. And you have to be of a certain mindset, and maybe it's because we're in education or whatever it is, but it does always baffle me when, you know, the companies go to such great lengths, and Vision Pro's on a different length, but even just like a new feature on a controller, and people are just like outraged, and it's like, and it's like you've not even like used it, or like you've not even practiced it, and I think that why would you not like be like, yo, that's amazing, and then, you know, you try it, and if you hate it, then it's fair enough, right? You go, okay, this is not for me, but it will be for somebody eventually, and even if the intended. Even if the Vision Pro isn't what everyone thinks it's going to become, the ceiling has already been broken for what that is now, and that might just open up an opportunity we don't even know about yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think technology makes people fear of becoming irrelevant,
like the AI thing now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's coming from this toxicity in our community is coming from fear. But I think if your thing is to not be heavily reliant on tech, then do that, but make that relevant, keep it relevant. Like you play a role in shaping trends in DJing. Every single one of us can. You can make something appear beautiful and, you know, attract attention to it if you want that to stay relevant. So if vinyl is your thing, then put out more content showing the beauty of playing on vinyl, and let other people do them, because, you know, we have all the options. But just because new tech comes, it doesn't take away the old tech that still exists, but you have to play your role in keeping it alive. I think that's what it is. Less of being an armchair warrior on your keyboard on socials, and more actual action in playing a role in promoting what you believe in.
And there's a lot of benefit to leaning in and being like one of the first. So, for example, there's no like big like DJ or platform that I'm aware of that, you know, does content that's like on the meta quest, like DJing. So there's like a whole gap there where if you're the first to it, it's like I remember when TikTok came around, and we were like, don't know what it is, but we're going to put some content on it, and it took ages and ages and ages, and like we were the first educators on there, and now we've got such a huge following, and it's just such a normal thing. Whereas before, it's like, well, I don't want to like dance and be on TikTok. And it's like, you don't have to do that stuff. But I think there's, with any new platform, you've seen how people become like famous overnight through new social media apps and being like the first famous person on there. And it's leading into that new thing. And if you're the guy who, or a girl who is the first in Vision Pro or whatever it is, you just might have like a whole career out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? If you lean in, just an attitude.
It worked for me on YouTube.
Exactly.
I was an early adopter on YouTube way before DJs were on there. So it does pay to be open-minded and adopt things early. And
podcasting, another one, like it's another thing. Yeah, interesting. I think it's just like a mindset thing, like leaning in. And then it's like you mentioned, it's not that, it's like nobody's sitting here forcing you to go and try new things. It's more your attitude towards other people's option and choice to lean into new technology. It's like if you're okay with what you're doing and you're happy with the gigs you're getting, you're happy with the how your software works, how your hardware works, that's cool. But then don't be like, oh, don't do that. Why would you do that if you're happy with everything? Like, you know what I mean?
And respect that the market will always like what it likes. You know, things become popular that you may not think deserve the popularity, but the market never lies. And if you want to do something about that, you have to make what you do popular. You know, you have to hustle harder.
I said to you earlier, with DJ, it's the only time I really ever, when I'm putting a routine together, I've just like a smile on my face. Like it reminds me of when I used to come up like with routines and just like feel like super proud, because there's just a fun element to it that is not lost on other software. But I think that other software established and have loads and loads of users and have been in the culture for years and years. It's a bit like the iPhone, right? They don't have to innovate as quick because people using them don't want too much sort of change. Whereas you're in such a good position where you can put out really, really cool features. My favorite one is like the live sampling, where you can just live remix tracks. You can hit the stem, have the vocal, and then you can put to the beat like a kick, snares, bass, synths, arps, and all that kind of stuff. And you're just like, this is ridiculous. Like thinking about, you know, back when you were mixing two turntables, putting the markers on with tape. You're like, how have you even got here? What do you think? Like the ultimate, like, what are the main challenges for Algoriddim, sort of in the near future and long term? Like, where does the business like want to be? Because it is a tech first company. But is it that you want to be more in like the DJ culture broadly? Do we want to see Algoriddim on stages of, you know, DJs performing at, you know, EDC or Coachella and that kind of stuff?
I think a main focus right now is to get a bit more cultural, like to prove that we're not just these nerdy computer geeks, you know, programming advanced software. Like there's heart going into what we're doing, and I think because the product, the DJ app, originated as more of a consumer app to help people get into DJing more easily. We're trying to prove that we've matured way past that, and the software is very, very advanced, more advanced than a lot of others, and it can do so many things, and it's fit for pros as well, pros like me who push the technical limits. So people are starting to realize that, and so it's a case of just shifting our perception to be more of a pro capable software as well as for consumers. Yeah,
and I think that because it's so well laid out for beginners, you capture a lot of early beginners that will just hopefully stick with it, because a lot of people don't want to invest too much early on, so they can buy, you know, Flex 2 or Flex 4 or something relatively cheap, download the DJ Pro version for free, and just go on it. And now it's at such a high level that you don't really need to like go anywhere else. You've got every kind of streaming service in there. Like, what was it like when, and what do you think it means for the industry having Apple Music like as streaming and DJ was one of the first software to have that, wasn't it? It says a lot about where DJing is in the popular culture now, doesn't it? To have Apple Music there.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible for companies like Apple to embrace DJing, and we were super proud to open the door for the community, because we've had Apple Music for a year now, and I think as I was saying, lowering the barrier of entry for people to get into DJing is an amazing thing, and we get a lot of gatekeeping in our space. We get a lot of people saying you need to start with vinyl or whatever, you know, certain technology or no technology, and I think that's not fair on today's DJs to be told that, because it's a different time. And if someone had told me when I started, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way, then I may not be here. So I think it's you have to be fair to the current era, and we have the tools and the technology. And so kids starting now, they don't have to do it the old way. And I think if you were to like gatekeep people playing football, because you know you may never get the best players, and I think it's the same for DJing. You're introducing the art form to way more people, and it can only produce better DJs and a better scene.
It reminds us early days of like Crossfader when we were doing content on like controllers, and everyone's like, you can't use a controller. Like it's like you can't, like you need to have decks or vinyl, and like it was a really long, like even like a couple of years, 2 or 3 years for like it to just be mainstream.
Yeah, and I'm happy to speak on this because I've been around a while. It's been almost 30 years. I've embraced all technology because for me, DJing is not about the medium that you use, and I think people get hung up on the gear, forgetting that DJing is actually creating live experiences by playing music to an audience. No one mentions turntables, no one mentions vinyl, no one mentions whatever. So I think if you're still one of those people that is like projecting your preferences on other people, then you need to just just step back, because everyone should have a choice to do that. DJing can be done in multiple different ways now, and a preference is not a definition. Some people prefer this, some people prefer that, but the outcome is the same. You're trying to entertain people with music. So take advantage of the options that are out there. If you're a new DJ, even if you're an old DJ, like keep an open mind, because it's never been a better time to be a DJ. I honestly believe that. It's incredible.
I agree. We were having a bit of a talk upstairs, weren't we, about the options you have now coming into the industry. It's like I say, it's never been bigger, and never been more accessible at the same time. What a DJ is whatever you want it to be. You can have it as a hobby forever and play at some like friends parties. You can come into the corporate world. You can just be a wedding DJ. You can be an influencer DJ. You can just make content, just work with brands, and never have to like play in a club. And you can play at local clubs. You can be an artist before you become a DJ. And having people at the forefront of this technology allows more people to be expressive, because if everybody's using the same thing all the time, then that's where creativity stops. And it's up to brands to keep innovating, because I think we all get to a point with our preferred brand. This is not just even like DJ culture, just like you're talking about the iPhone, where it stops getting exciting and just gets like, oh, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. And we chatted before about our sort of DJ career has been sort of a similar level of where we got to a point where just maybe not the fun was taken out of it. Maybe we're doing a similar thing all the time, and that's where you got to be like, what is next, and what can we change? And like Algorithm's just a great, and I think that not a lot of people get the luxury we have when we're testing products and testing new software, but it really does change your creative thinking. Just opening up like a new interface and being like, how am I gonna like figure out something on this? And just being able to not be on like autopilot when I open up, say my chosen software is Serato. I open up Serato, I know everything is, I know what I'm going to do, this transition. Or you open up something new, you're like, what?
Yeah. I think that in DJing, like you were saying, I think DJs they're creatures of habit, right? They learn their gear and they stay there, and they can be quite close-minded to new things.
100%.
But I think you have to be open to the idea that industry standards can change. There was a time that Nokia was the industry standard phone. Where are they now? It can happen overnight sometimes. So I think just because something has been a certain way for so long doesn't mean there isn't a better way. And with Algoriddim, we're kind of semi outside of the small DJ pro bubble, I guess. So we think in different ways of how is it currently done, and is there a better way to do it? And can we build the technology to solve a lot of the problems that DJs are having, so we can get back to the real reason we're doing this. It's all about the audience, creating positive, shared experiences through music, the love of music. And so I'm really in a great place right now. I did all the club scene like we were talking about. I was on the road all the time. It's a great lifestyle, but it's not something you perhaps want to do forever. I know there's a lot of guys still out there who are older than me, but as a creative person, I'm not inspired by doing the same thing over and over. So now I'm in a bit of a different chapter. I still do some gigs, but I get to now kind of flex my expertise in DJing and marry the art and the tech together. Yeah,
what does that look like on a weekly, monthly basis? Are you still doing a couple of gigs a month here and there, and then just really Algorithms just all a job.
Yeah, pretty much. I get offered quite a lot of gigs, but they always have to make sense in terms of the time I invest, because my style of DJing, I have to be really like show ready and have new ideas and set pieces and routines. So it takes a lot for me to feel like I'm good to tour again, and because I'm always working on creating ideas and innovations with Algoriddim, it doesn't always make sense to me to hit the road and do a one-off gig here or whatever. So I'm in a place of luxury, I guess. I don't have to DJ anymore, but I'm still definitely open to playing parties if it's the right one, and if it makes sense with my schedules, which change quite quickly in the tech world. If people who work in tech will know that things change fast, and you get new deadlines, and you have to do this for this partner.
We have a lot of similarities. I'd love to know about some of the best sort of DJ experience you've had. You mentioned you've done Asia tour, and you've been to Asia quite a lot, because the culture over there, sort of what you do is very welcome over there. But where are some of the best gigs that really stick in your mind as being just out of this world?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, Asia's always good. I think the crowds in Asia are just enthusiastic. They're easier to please maybe than other nations. They get behind you. I would say that one of my favorite experiences was playing on live TV in Nairobi, Kenya.
Wow.
And I was that whole week was crazy. I did a week tour in Kenya, and I realized when I landed, the music and the sets I kind of semi-prepared would not have really worked with that crowd. So I spent every evening in my hotel digging for music for this region.
Right.
And I barely slept all week. I was doing workshops in the week. I was doing radio shows as well, and I was doing parties in clubs. So I was I just didn't sleep. I just worked the whole week trying to learn about the music there. And then this TV show came along, and even there on set backstage, I was preparing my set minutes before going live, and it all went to plan. That video is also on my channel. Nice. But the energy in the room that day was crazy, and live TV, first time I ever did it. Different kind of nerves.
It must be great. We actually were talking about this maybe last week, but in terms of, I used to do routines as well. So in terms of making a routine, there's no it's such an adrenaline-filled thing, because it can go wrong at any time. And the more and more you do, you can save things, and maybe they're not always perfect, even if it does look perfect. To you, you're always I could have been a little bit more sharp here or there. But it's kind of like playing, we were saying about DJs going and playing the same set every week, and that must get boring. The biggest buzz in DJing is playing new music and wondering if that's gonna go off. You've digged around and you're is this gonna land or not? And that's similar for a routine, isn't it? You're first of all, am I gonna nail this? And second of all, is this gonna go down well?
Yeah, that's what keeps it exciting though, to stay on your toes. And it's, for me, it's always a balance between doing something impressive and doing something that the audience understands or at least connects with, because you can just end up DJing for yourself and lose the crowd if you're too much about you. And that's quite a tricky balance to get right. If you want to be technical and creative, you have to really think in a psychological way, does this resonate with my audience? But I encourage all DJs to be to experiment and not play safe all the time, because it's a competitive industry. If you're really trying to make it and get noticed, then you have to go against the grain and do what other people aren't doing. And that's something I've tried to do my whole career. And you can see my videos. I've tried to come up with new ideas that haven't been done before.
So you actually won a DMC contest, and was it during COVID or just after COVID? Because it's you and JFB, who is, I'm sure he's not a human being. There's no way he's a human being, because
no, he's not.
His skills are just unfathomable, just unbelievable. But you won a duo competition, the DMC Championship. Was it 2021 or 2022?
2021, correct. Yeah, so that was during COVID when DMC was all online. It's back. It's now back to the real life events, but during COVID times, everyone just competed online, and that particular year, they brought back the team battle, which had been dead for many years.
Right.
And JFB called me up and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. The teams are back. You know, there's no one else I'd rather do it with than you.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, you know, I'm not a battle guy. That's not really my lane. And he said, just think about it. And then I went away, and I thought it was like a week, but he said it was the next day. I called him back, and I said, all right, bro, I'm in.
As he calls you, you're already doing a routine. Like
I was like, oh, man, this is probably the time I put myself out there and go for it, because I'm not really a super technical guy on the level of doing the solos, but when it comes to teams, it's more about the composition, the musicality. And I thought, hey, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now with him. You know, he's not human. Jay's one of the best in the game. Yeah, we all know that. And I thought, yeah, this is probably the only time I'd do this.
Yeah.
And I, you know, and since watching the DMC tapes as a kid, I always had it in my heart that it'd be nice to have a world title one day. So yeah, we committed to it. We worked like independently. I'm in Berlin, he's in Brighton. We worked on ideas, and then I spent a total of 4 weeks with him in person. Had to do the whole like COVID swabbing every time we met.
Oh yeah,
it was challenging.
Wow.
Yeah, it was challenging to get it together. So I stayed with him for a month, and we worked on it, and that's a whole nother challenge. Like making videos by yourself is one thing, but when you've got two people with a different style and different ideas and egos and, you know, all of that, you have to come to a compromise where it's both of your styles gone into it. And it took us a while to find our groove, but we got there. Yeah,
amazing.
We got there.
Congratulations, man. That's such a cool story, and it must make it even like more rewarding of like just the time that it happened. Like it must have made it so hard to come together and do it.
It was super challenging. Yeah. Just emotionally, physically, you know, getting the ideas, trying to find a way for two people to perform simultaneously and sound good and do stuff that hasn't been done. But yeah, a new level was reached for both of us, and he went on to win 2 other titles that year, which is incredible for him. And
makes sense.
Yeah, and for me, it was a bucket list thing. I get to say I'm a world champion, and it's just giving me that little bit of, you know, a little bit of pride.
It's like boxing, you're a world champ forever. Like you're forever, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So cool. I'm such a fan of the competition world and culture and scene. And I just hope that in some way it sort of has a resurgence. And it doesn't take many people. It doesn't take much to get it back. It can be a viral moment. It can be something. And, you know, there's so many big DJs out there. If you think of like James Hype, who does it in, you know, a house electronic music way, it doesn't take somebody like that can create an inspiration for the next gen of people coming through who want to experiment. Fred again, people like that who are really experimenting with music. It feels like it won't take long for that resurgence to sort of happen again, and hopefully it does.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, DJing is unlimited.
Sure,
there's no end to what you can do with music and with the gear that's available now. So really, like, everyone has a chance to build a name. It's quite a level playing field. We all have access to social media, which is free for the most part. So everyone has a chance to put something out and get discovered. But yeah, you got to be consistent, and you got to try to find your unique lane. But yeah, I think it's an amazing time if you're really into this. You can build a name quickly nowadays.
100%, man. Where do you get the inspiration from? Do you just go and watch other great DJs and be like,
It's funny you say that, because I try not to watch DJs too much at all. I'm the opposite. I think if you watch too much of other people, you might then not think for yourself as much, right?
Just go in a room and like play,
like journey inwards, dig deep. What am I trying to say? What am I into right now? You know, and let that come to the surface. Of course, we all need inspiration. Some people need DJ courses to get started, but I think eventually you should try to hone a style that's unique. because we are all unique individuals, and I think we all have something unique to say. It's just getting to a point where you can say that through the music and through your performance.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm excited because you're going to do a performance for our channel here today, which is like one of my like early DJ dreams is to watch you do a mix. So we're going to perform that, and it'll be on our channel out at some point. Angelo, it's been great to chat with you, man. It's actually a real honor as educators to have one of the original educators in here, and to work with Algoriddim. You know, we've got such a good connection there between both of our brands, and we're doing a lot of content together over the next 6 months, and hopefully for a long time. But thanks for coming, bro.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Nice one.